Have you ever noticed that when you silence yourself to keep the peace, that's exactly when you start to break inside? You swallow the truth so you don't lose someone, to avoid conflict, to show maturity. But in the end, you lose yourself. And worse, even when silent, you still get hit. Because silence no longer protects you, it exposes you. Today, Mercury joins Mars. And when the mind meets the blade, the word ceases to be sound and becomes power. This is the day the world will try to push you back into your old place. The place where you lower your head, where you pretend you didn't see, where you swallow what destroys you, just to seem at peace. Enough. Either you speak with courage, or you continue to be an accomplice to what suffocates you. Neutrality is over. Today I cut the silence. You learned to silence yourself as if it were a virtue. They taught you that swallowing the truth was a sign of maturity, of control, of emotional intelligence. They said that those who talk too much get into trouble, that those who confront create problems, that those who show what they feel push others away. So you did what seemed right. You held back. You kept it in. You shrank, and you called it peace. But there is a brutal difference between conscious silence and forced silence. Healthy silence is born from choice. The silence that destroys is born from fear. And it's this second type that dominates you more often than you admit. Because, deep down, you know. You know when you're being quiet to maintain harmony, and when you're being quiet to avoid rejection. You know when you're avoiding conflict, and when you're running from responsibility. You know when you're diving inward, and when you're hiding behind spirituality to not face your own limits. You know. The problem isn't not knowing. The problem is that you have turned this silence into an identity. You've gotten used to swallowing everything: discomfort, frustration, anger, intuition. You even swallow your own voice to continue being the mature one, the conscious one, the spiritual one, the one who understands. And meanwhile, something inside you screams, but no one listens, because you yourself have muffled it. The silence that was supposed to protect you has started to work against you. It doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. It doesn't make you enlightened. It makes you faded. It doesn't avoid problems. It traps you inside them. Have you realized? Every time you fell silent, not to lose, you lost anyway. You lost the chance to take a stand. You lost self-confidence. You lost the respect of those who watch you. And most of all, you lost your own voice. You became someone who feels but doesn't say, who thinks but doesn't decide, who sees but doesn't act. And you still call this peace. It is not peace. It is anesthesia. And the price for this is very high, because every time you choose silence out of fear, you send a message to life. I accept less than I deserve. I prefer to please rather than be true. I don't trust myself enough to stand by what I feel. And life responds, then I will give you people who treat you as an option. I will give you situations that put you in the background. I will give you environments where your voice doesn't matter. Life doesn't punish. It mirrors. It gives back exactly what you show you accept. The truth is harsh, but liberating. You are not being silenced. You are silencing yourself. Because deep down, you believe your truth will cause damage. And maybe it will. But you know what causes more damage? Continuing to live a life that doesn't match who you are. And here is the point. The silence that protects your ego destroys your soul. You think you're avoiding external conflict, but you're creating a much greater internal one. You feel exhausted, heavy, disconnected, not because the world is difficult, but because you live at war with your own voice. You've gotten used to pulling away from what is uncomfortable, but you never considered the possibility of getting closer to the discomfort and asking, what is this pain trying to show me? How many times did you realize something was wrong, and yet you stayed. How many times did you ignore the clear sign, just to not seem dramatic? How many times did you feel it was time to go, but stayed so as not to disappoint anyone? This is the most sophisticated prison, the one where you convince yourself you're doing good, when in fact, you're just postponing your own truth. And here comes the energy of this day. With Mercury and Mars united, life forces lucidity. The mind gains courage, courage gains a voice. There is no more room to pretend that everything is fine. You can no longer hide behind a pretty speech of lightness and consciousness. Mercury Conjunct, Mars exposes, throws the doors wide open, removes disguises, and reveals what no one likes to admit. Silence often is just fear dressed as wisdom. And what if I told you that this chapter of your life won't turn when you find answers? It will turn when you finally start asking questions out loud. From today on, either your silence serves your truth, or it will be destroyed by your own consciousness. Because one thing is certain, whoever silences themselves out of fear ends up being silenced by life itself. And you know, it's time to break this cycle. Now we need to talk about the real price you pay every time you stay silent. Not just emotionally, but energetically, physically, spiritually. Because this silence doesn't just stay in your throat. It spreads throughout your entire body. And that's where the real damage begins. You think that being silent is something neutral, that not speaking does no harm, that keeping it to yourself is a form of maturity. But silence is not absence. Silence is movement, inward, and everything you swallow, your body must carry. You think you're avoiding external conflict, but you are creating an internal conflict that your body has to resolve on its own. Every swallowed truth turns into physical tension. Every let it go becomes a knot in your stomach. Every I can handle it becomes a weight on your back. Every I won't say anything becomes a tightness in your chest. And over time, you call this anxiety, fatigue, burnout. But the root is much simpler and deeper. You are living against yourself. You don't just feel exhausted because the world is heavy. You feel exhausted because you are sustaining a false version of yourself. And the body knows. The body always knows. It gives signs. Before the mind admits it, it makes the heart race. It takes away your sleep. It makes your voice tremble. It creates symptoms that no medical exam can explain because it's not physical, it's energetic. Mercury rules the mind. Mars rules the body. Today they walk together. What your mind thinks, the body executes. What you avoid saying, the body tries to expel in another way. Every repressed emotion becomes compressed energy. And compressed energy needs to come out somewhere. If it doesn't come out through the mouth, it comes out as irritation, as a crisis, as an explosion, as a disease. Yes, a disease. Because the body is the soul's last resort. When you don't listen to your spirit, your body screams. When you don't honor your truth, your body sacrifices itself to wake you up. And forced silence is one of the most violent forms of self-abuse. It is not lightness, it is self-denial. It is internal abandonment. You stay silent, but your energy keeps talking. It communicates through your gaze, your posture, your lack of shine. People feel when you are betraying yourself, even if they can't name it. And maybe that's why you feel more and more disconnected, not from others, but from yourself. Have you noticed? The more you swallow, the more you fall asleep. The more you stay silent, the more you diminish. The more you sabotage yourself, the more you attract situations that reinforce your weakness. Life puts you in environments where you can't speak, around people who don't listen to you, in jobs where your opinion doesn't matter. Why? Because you are saying energetically, I accept this, I fit into this, I make myself small willingly, and life gives you exactly what you tolerate. You think the problem is the environment, the people, the world, but in reality, the problem is the message you send without realizing it, the message of self-censorship. You stay silent so as not to bother anyone, but that silence feeds what hurts you. You don't want conflict, but the biggest conflict is already happening inside of you. You don't want to hurt anyone, but you are hurting yourself every day with the same choice, pretending that everything is fine. And here is the hardest part. You don't feel trapped because the world traps you. You feel trapped because you lock yourself in. And the key is in your voice. When Mercury joins Mars, the universe is not asking you to speak louder. It is asking you to speak with truth, because a single sincere sentence has the power to release years of stagnant energy. A single real conversation can heal something you've carried for a decade. A single verbalized decision can change the direction of your entire life. But as long as you are afraid of the sound of your own voice, you'll remain trapped in cycles that should have already ended. You can keep repeating the same silence, hoping everything will resolve itself. But silence without awareness doesn't resolve. It postpones. And each postponement costs more than the last, because the bill always comes, always. The question is, will you pay with momentary discomfort or with years of your life? This is the energetic price of silence. You save on conflict and spend your soul. And today, with Mercury and Mars in conjunction, that bill appears on the table. No discount, no installments, no way to escape. Either you give the truth back to your voice, or the body will continue to carry what was never its to bear. But there is something even more dangerous than silence. The illusion you use to justify it. You call it peace, but that is exactly what is destroying your strength. You grew up believing that being peaceful was a virtue, that avoiding conflict was a sign of maturity, that keeping everything calm was proof of evolution. But no one told you the most uncomfortable truth. Peace that requires you to betray yourself is not peace. It is submission. You confuse harmony with the absence of friction. You confuse calm with paralysis. You confuse politeness with self-censorship. And that's how you imprison yourself in relationships, environments, and patterns that drain your soul, all in the name of a peace that only exists on the outside. Do you know why this peace feels so heavy? Because it's fake. Real peace is not staying quiet so everything can stay the same. Real peace is having the courage to say what needs to be said so that something can finally change. You are afraid of confrontation, but you don't realize that you are confronting yourself internally every day. You think, I don't want to hurt anyone. But what about you? How many times have you hurt yourself by being silent? How many times have you stayed up at night, replaying conversations you never had? How many times have you felt small by swallowing what you should have said? And the worst part, no one notices what you do on the inside. To the world, you seem calm, you seem evolved, you seem balanced. But inside, you are rotting in silence. And then comes the most dangerous trap of all. You start using spiritual words to justify your own cowardice. I prefer to choose peace. I don't want to lower my vibration. I am practicing detachment. No, you are practicing omission. And omission is also a choice. The difference is that it chooses against you. Libra, the sign of the scales, is not about avoiding conflict. It is about seeking justice. It is about real balance, not a pretty appearance. Libra doesn't want superficial harmony. Libra wants balanced truth. And Mercury with Mars today does not allow for emotional makeup. They rip off the filters, break the false diplomacy, and expose what is incoherent. The transit screams, Peace without truth is a lie, and this lie has a color, a smell, and an effect. It drains your energy, it makes you doubt yourself, it makes you a spectator of your own life. You call it peace, but it's fear of displeasing. You call it calm, but it's fear of being rejected. You call it balance, but it's fear of owning who you are. And you know the cruelest part? You think you are protecting the people around you by hiding your truth. But in reality, you are denying them the chance to grow with you. When you hide your discomfort, you prevent the relationship from evolving. When you swallow your opinion, you prevent the environment from healing. When you silence your intuition, you prevent the universe from aligning you with the right path. Real peace often begins with discomfort, with a difficult conversation, with an "I don't agree," with a "this no longer serves me." Truth doesn't destroy, it reveals. What is fragile breaks. What is true becomes stronger. You are afraid of losing people by speaking up, but maybe those who walk away from your truth were already losing you a long time ago. And you know what? The people who really matter don't want your politeness, they want your authenticity. Mercury with Mars is not asking you to fight. It is asking you to be honest, because honesty is the highest level of practical spirituality. And life does not respect those who seek peace at any price. Life respects those who choose truth, even if it costs temporary noise. Because the noise passes, coherence remains. And that is why this day is so powerful. Because when the lie of peace falls away, you finally understand what you can do with your voice. And this is where Mercury and Mars show their true function. The word is a cut. Have you ever noticed that there are words that open paths and words that close chapters? There are sentences that set you free at once, and there are sentences that chain you for years. Most people treat the word as an opinion, but energetically, the word is a contract. Every time you say it's okay when it's not, you sign an agreement with the lie. Every time you say I can handle it, when you're already at your limit, you renew a pact with your pain. Every time you say I can't, when you know you could, you give away your power. You speak, and the universe responds. You stay silent, and the universe understands it as giving up. Mercury is the mind, Mars is action. When they unite, thinking and acting become the same thing. Today, your word is your weapon, your scissors, your spiritual scalpel. And a scalpel is not violence. It is precision. It is the surgical cutting of what is dead, infected, outdated. It's not shouting. It's speaking the truth with firmness, without apologizing for existing. Mars does not negotiate with what blocks the soul. Mercury does not soften what needs to be said. When they walk together, there is no room for beating around the bush. That's why, today, everything that is false becomes unbearable. Forced people, empty conversations, manipulative environments, everything feels twice as heavy. You feel it in your body when a situation has passed its expiration date. You feel it in your heart when a relationship has become a prison. You feel it in your voice when something wants to come out and you can't hold it in anymore. The body starts giving signs. The mind starts screaming. The energy starts to jam. This is not drama, it is alignment. Mercury with Mars brings a window of rare lucidity. For a few days, you see exactly what needs to be cut. You clearly identify what holds you back. You perceive with coldness who drains your strength. You feel in your bones what is wrong. And along with the clarity comes courage. Not the impulsive courage to fight on a whim, but the mature courage to put an end to something with dignity. A single true sentence can end an entire cycle. I don't agree. This is no longer for me. I will not continue this way. I deserve more than this. Simple words. But when spoken at the right time, with presence, they change your destiny, because life respects those who take a stand. You want a sign from the universe? The universe wants a sign from you. You are waiting for everything to change. But you don't want to issue the command that initiates the change. You want freedom. But you still haven't said enough. You want respect. But you still accept what hurts you. You want a new cycle. But you still haven't closed the old one with the final word. Mercury with Mars doesn't want you to talk more. It wants you to talk right. It wants you to speak cleanly. It wants you to speak with intention, because energy follows direction. And whoever doesn't speak with direction speaks to the wind. This is the day to put your voice back in its place of origin, not in the throat, but in the soul. The word born from the soul has weight. It doesn't argue, it decides. It doesn't justify. It puts an end. It doesn't ask. It defines. And when you start speaking from that place, people reposition themselves. Situations reorganize. Energy obeys. Speaking the truth doesn't destroy your life. It only destroys the parts of your life that were based on lies. And that is liberation. But it's not enough to speak. You have to know how to speak. Because truth without direction becomes an attack. And today, Mercury and Mars want to teach you something even more powerful: to speak with precision. Chapter 5. Speak with precision, not impulse. Speaking the truth is not dumping everything you think. It is not exploding, not attacking, not using sincerity as a weapon to hurt. That is Mars without consciousness, strength without direction, fire without a target, and strength without direction causes damage, including to you. Have you ever noticed how, when you explode, you might even be right, but you lose credibility? Because it's not just what you say, it's how and when you say it. Truth without precision becomes noise. Truth without intention becomes an emotional discharge. Truth spoken at the wrong time becomes drama. And the problem is that you've been frustrated by this before. You stayed quiet for a long time. The pressure built up, and when you couldn't take it anymore, you said everything at once. You spoke with anger, with exhaustion, with resentment. You spoke trying to recover years of silence in a single conversation, and of course, it didn't work. People didn't understand. You came off as exaggerated, unstable, difficult. And the worst part, after all that, you thought, see, speaking is pointless, I'd better shut up. No, the problem wasn't speaking, it was waiting until you exploded to speak. It was speaking with impulse and not with consciousness. That's why Mercury and Mars together are so important today. Mars is courage, Mercury is strategy. Courage without strategy is chaos. Strategy without courage is stagnation. But when courage and strategy unite, the power of conscious action is born. To speak with precision is to choose words that have weight, not volume. It is to say what is necessary, not everything. It is to speak at the right moment, not the easiest moment. It is to speak with presence, not with anger. Truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be firm. Real truth doesn't try to convince anyone, it simply sustains itself. Whoever listens feels it. Whoever cannot listen reveals that they should not remain. When you speak with precision, something instantly changes in the environment, because the energy of the sentence carries direction and certainty. I am not continuing. This has crossed my line. I will no longer be silent about this. I expect to be treated with respect. Notice, this is not aggressiveness, it is clarity. And clarity is one of the greatest spiritual acts there is. To be clear is to be sovereign. To be clear is to be whole. To be clear is to show that your integrity is worth more than approval. Speaking with precision also means knowing when not to speak, because sometimes conscious silence is more powerful than any speech, not out of fear, but by decision. Strategic silence is not escape. It is dominion. It's when you think, I could get into this argument, but it's not worth my energy. I could explain, but I won't justify myself. I could argue, but I don't need to prove anything. This silence does not make you sick. This silence liberates, because it comes from certainty, not from fear. To speak with precision is to understand that every word shapes reality, and that with Mercury and Mars in conjunction, today a sentence can open a path or close it, and you choose. You can wake up tomorrow trapped in the same cycles, or you can leave a conversation different from how you entered it. A few words are enough. A verbal decision is enough. The voice is the turning point between thought and destiny. Whoever does not speak does not create. Whoever does not take a stand does not exist. Whoever does not choose their words lets others choose for them. And you already know, it's time to reclaim what has always been yours. Your voice, because your silence is not protecting your peace. It is protecting the comfort zone of those who profit from your fear. And today, that era ends, not by shouting, but by clarity. And when you start speaking with truth and precision, something greater happens. You don't just free yourself, you alter the field around you. And that's when your voice ceases to be just sound and becomes destiny. There is a moment in life when something inside you says, enough. I can no longer live small. That moment doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't come with a great mystical revelation. It comes as a silent sentence, yet definitive. A sentence that is born from within and changes everything. I will no longer be silent. And when that sentence is true, the entire universe reorganizes itself around you. Because there is a spiritual law that almost no one understands. Reality responds to your voice, not to your intention, not to your desire, not to your visualization, to your voice. You can think positive for years, but if you never say it's over, you remain trapped. You can feel in your heart that you deserve more, but if you never say, I demand more, you continue to be treated as an option. You can dream of a new life. But if you never say, I choose another path, you stay in the same place. Destiny is not waited for. Destiny is declared. The word is the act of birth of reality. Everything begins with a let there be. And therefore, whoever does not speak with truth lives the reality of others. Do you want to know why some people seem lucky? Because they take a stand. They don't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. They are not afraid to say, this is what I want, and this I do not accept. And when you choose yourself, life starts to choose you too. Mercury with Mars is exactly that. The mind, Mercury, defines. The action, Mars, executes. The word is the bridge between the two. That's why this transit is so powerful. What you say now has the force of a pact. If you say, I no longer tolerate this, prepare for doors to close, but also for better doors to open. If you say, I take my stand, prepare for some to walk away, but also for the right people to draw near, because the universe doesn't remove, it replaces. It takes away what is fragile and brings what is coherent. But it can only act after you speak. Your soul has a unique timbre, and when you use your voice with truth, that timbre emits a powerful frequency. That frequency attracts opportunities, people, paths, and repels everything that is misaligned. You don't need to shout. You don't need to convince. You don't need to explain yourself to exhaustion. You just need to say the right thing with presence. This does not serve me. I deserve more. I am ready. I will go. I end this. I begin. I trust myself. I speak. These sentences are not just words. They are keys, portals, timeline openings. And every time you stay silent out of fear, you lock these doors. Every time you speak with courage, you open them. Destiny is not written from the outside in. It is activated from the inside out. The world changes when one person decides to stop negotiating with their own truth. And today, that someone can be you. Because at this very moment, there is something waiting to be said. Something you know, something you feel, something that, when verbalized, will redefine your life. You have held it in for too long. You have swallowed it for more years than you should have. You have tried to keep the peace at the cost of your soul. Now life no longer wants you to endure. It wants you to declare you are not just cutting the silence. You are making space for a future where your voice has weight, a place, and an impact. And when you speak the truth, it doesn't matter who leaves. It doesn't matter who criticizes. It doesn't matter who tries to silence you. You have already won, because you have returned to yourself. This is the true revolution, not changing the world out there, but changing the way you position yourself within it. And when you change your posture, the world responds. And this is where everything converges, because today is not just another day. Today is the day you choose whether to keep repeating the silence or to assume the power of your voice. You have tried to keep the peace by silencing your own soul. You have hidden behind "it's all good," while something inside screamed. But today, that version of you dies, because peace is not the absence of noise, it is the presence of truth. And life does not respect those who shrink to fit in. It respects those who choose themselves, even if it costs temporary noise. This is the day the word becomes sacred again, in which your voice stops asking for permission and starts creating a path, in which you stop waiting for destiny to change on its own and decide to change it with a sentence. So speak, declare, own it, not to convince anyone, but to seal your new frequency. Write in the comments with firmness, "Today, I cut the silence." And if you felt that this message awakened something you can no longer postpone, stay, because from now on, we are going to say what no one has the courage to say.